My evil corrupts the most innocent. I have chosen you because you possess powers you do not yet understand. Look at it. Look deep into it. Some world I worship as God.
Now, every other month or so, I order a couple issues of Heavy Metal magazine. Just whenever the new issue comes out, I order some backlogs with it. And this month, I ordered the May 2003 issue, which I did not have. It's got a very nice cover. Maybe we'll look at that in the future. And I ordered the horror special. As you can see, that's from the mid to late 90s. I'm not sure exactly when that came out. 97 is when that came out, but that came with the first issue of Thumpin' Guts by Kevin Eastman. And as you may have noticed in my pickups video, I ordered this lovely poster, which is also the cover of the November 2011 Heavy Metal, which I've had for a long time. I really like this issue, and I especially like the cover. That poster is one of the new favorite additions to this room. But what we're going to look at today is the newest issue of Heavy Metal, number 269. I decided to take a look at this because I think that maybe it would be fun to break up the video game talk for a little bit and talk about some comic books, so let's jump right into it. Heavy Metal number 269. Now, as we take a look at this issue, we're not only going to talk about the stories inside, but we're also going to take a look at the ads and an in-depth look at the cover. Just take a really good overall look at the issue. I think that the ads are one of the most important aspects of Heavy Metal because they're all really kind of funky, and the cover is also one of the most important aspects of a Heavy Metal issue. This cover is by an artist called Eben, from what I understand. It's a beautiful cover, if you ask me. It kind of reminds me of Samus from Metroid, but it's a little bit of a look forward into the main story, EVA, or Eva, which is about a cybernetic woman. So I'm not sure. Most of the time the covers don't match up with what's inside the magazine. I think this one was just coincidence or picked because of that, but the character on the cover is not Eva. It is an original character. But nonetheless, it is still a beautiful cover. The detail is wonderful, and her face is especially captivating. When you open up this issue, the first thing you're greeted by is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Nickelodeon. These are some banks, of course. Gotta have our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ad placement in Kevin Eastman's magazine. I can't blame him for that, but it does feel a little out of place having products from a children's show in Heavy Metal. It is a little bit jarring, I guess. But once we move past the table of contents, behold the nude world order. That's more like it. Heavy Metal advertises pornographic drawing books, art books, quite often. They are a staple of Heavy Metal. The first story is a continuation of Animals by Enki Bilal. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of these names. Heavy Metal is mostly made up of European comics by European artists and writers, and often I cannot pronounce their names correctly, but I will try my best. Animals has good art. I really like the art in this. It's very dystopian and very depressing, and it really helps to magnify the depressing and sort of brooding story within. It's got a really haunting atmosphere that I've really come to enjoy the past couple issues. If you're just jumping in to this story, it won't make much sense, but it's It's a story about human-animal hybrids, so yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, try to pursue the first issue, the first issue of Animals, which is in a heavy metal magazine. I can't remember which one. If I can figure it out, I will put an annotation in this video. The next story is Bull and Ball by Marco Jeska, I think is how you would pronounce that. And it's just got great color choice, I think. The colors and the contrast between the two parts of the story are wonderful, and I think that going into such a colorful world and then being ripped out into a black and white dystopian sort of very realistic world, it's a great choice. The writing is okay. It's probably a poor translation, but that happens every once in a while when a comic book comes through. The translation won't quite be on, but that's forgivable for heavy metal. It's got a fantastic story and a bittersweet end, and I just really liked this story. This one was the highlight of the issue for me. Bull and Ball. Okay, next we get to a gallery. Now every heavy metal, I believe every heavy metal has a gallery in it. Usually it's a gallery of art, but this time it is a photography gallery, which I've actually never seen in a heavy metal magazine. This one is Renee Robin. Her gallery is kind of alternate fantasy, violent fantasy, sort of dark photography. Never seen a photography gallery in a heavy metal magazine. That's a refreshing change of pace. The next story is The Age. Now, in just about every heavy metal magazine you'll find 2 or 3 humorous stories, and The Age is the first one in this issue. And it's got nice art, very cartoony, but I feel like the humor falls a little bit flat, which does happen every once in a while. The next story is Apocalypse Chef, which I really, really enjoyed. It's got a great premise. It's a sort of a Top Chef competition in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's very funny and well written, and the translation is excellent. If it was, in fact, written by Chris Bukes and Greg Cameron, probably butchering that as well, but perhaps they're native English speakers. But the story is fantastic, and the script is fantastic. It's very violent and gory, and I think the art is decent, but it does an excellent job of conveying the attitude of this story. The next story is Eva. This is a conclusion to a multi-part story by Marco Turini. That will happen more often than not in Heavy Metal Magazine. There will be multi-part stories that span several issues, sort of graphic novels that have been broken up into small bite-sized chunks for the magazine. Now, Eva has absolutely fantastic art. This is the headlining story for a good reason. It has fantastic art, great writing, and the atmosphere is just dreamlike and sort of foreboding in a way reminiscent of The Matrix. It's a hard sci-fi cyberpunk story about a cybernetic woman, a half-robot, half-human woman. And there's a little bit of a twist at the end, but it's just great for anybody that loves The Matrix or The Terminator, anything like that. It's great, hard sci-fi. It's fantastic. If they ever did another heavy metal movie, I doubt they would after Heavy Metal 2000. But if they ever did another heavy metal movie, I would love for Eva to be the main story in it. That would be amazing. It's also got a nice blend of horror and sort of erotic overtones, undertones, and you'll find that a lot in Heavy Metal Magazine. The stories are ones that could not be published mainstream because they are too either sexual, too violent, or what have you, but They're usually very fantastic and very unique compared to what you'd find on the shelves of your local comic book stand. Eva doesn't go over the top though, it's just borderline erotic. Okay, next we have an ad for Heavy Metal Warriors, which is a video slot machine. That's interesting for any of you who are into your slot machines. It's also available on mobile phones. Now, I'm not sure if there's a heavy metal pinball machine, but if there is, I'd love to see it. This one, Heavy Metal Warriors, the ad features art. It looks like it's by Sperlonga, but I'm not entirely sure. I had a chance to meet the artist Sperlonga at Comic-Con 2013. He was a very nice guy. He signed some of my heavy metal issues, and I met a couple models as well. It was a very neat experience. Now this one is really spooky. The art style is just fantastic. It reminds me of 30 Days of Night. It's a very interesting take on zombies, TK-47 is. It's just spooky and brooding, and it's what you've come to expect from heavy metal. Absolutely fantastic. Next we come up on an ad for fantasy erotic pinup books. What did I tell you? More often than not, in fact I'm pretty sure 100% of heavy metal magazines have some sort of erotic or pornographic advertising in them. It is billed as an illustrated adult fantasy book, so that's probably why you have your pornographic advertisements, is the adult subheader there. The next story is Into the After. Now, this looks like it is a combination of photography and what looks like pen or pencil. I don't especially like the art, but I can understand that some people would. I don't like whenever photography is mixed into art. I just don't like the look. It always feels a little off, if you ask me. I didn't really especially like this story much either. It didn't make too much sense to me, and I don't know. It felt like a little bit of a dud. The next we have Artist Studio of Jeff Brennan. Now, in every heavy metal magazine, I believe, or most issues, you'll have an artist studio or a sort of a article about an artist or a influential person in the industry. And today's just happens to be an artist studio where there's a little bit of a biography of Jeff Brennan and a couple of his works. He has some very neat cybernetic ladies in here as well, another throwback to the cover. The next story is Lena Wombat in Lena Gets a Hobby. It has passable but boring art. It kind of reminds me of a Funny Pages or a newspaper comic. The humor falls flat, and it sort of feels like it's trying to be like Tank Girl, but not quite hitting the mark. The over-the-top violence is just a little bit too much, I think. Overall, it just falls flat, and I didn't really like this story much at all. The next story is I Was Looking at Things by T. Strazishik. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that correctly either. This one has fantastic art and even better color. It's an oddly depressing universe that has been created in this one. I really, really liked this one. This is one of the standout shorts. The final story is a one-page spread called MI9 Secret Agent Susan Kobe. It's got more of your trademark heavy metal sort of sexual humor that does fall a little bit flat, but the art is really good. I really liked the art. Finally, we have an ad for Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent wildfires. The most dangerous animals in the forest don't live there. Very nice. And on the back we have another photograph by Renee Robin. It looks like it's a sort of a Splinter Cell Sam Fisher type. Very nice. And that was Heavy Metal 269. If you liked this episode, if you enjoyed this, perhaps I will do another one in another 2 months, or do another one of a back issue or something that I have. If this gets enough of a response, maybe I'll make this a regular thing. But if you enjoyed it, definitely like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.